Welcome to Mental Health Momentum, a Silicon Slopes podcast. I'm Dr. David Morgan. I'm a licensed psychologist and the Director of Mental Health Awareness here at Silicon Slopes. On this podcast, we talk about mental health issues in business and beyond, and we look for solutions as well. Let me introduce my guest to you today. This is Brooklyn Anderson. Hello, Brooke.
Hello.
Let me tell you a little bit about Brooke. If Brooke's okay?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Brooklyn's if I'm in trouble.
That's right.
So
Brooklyn's
good.
mom drove her here today, so if
Yes.
she's in trouble, if you
Yeah.
heard Brooklyn being screamed from out there, then we
Yeah.
know you're in trouble,
It's
right?
my mom. She's going to bust in.
Brooke is a statewide leader in suicide prevention, mental health advocacy, and community partnership building, focused on creating real, practical systems change that saves lives. With more than 20 years of leadership and program development experience, she specializes in turning innovative prevention ideas into sustainable, data-driven programs that are inclusive, compassionate, and community-informed. Brooke currently serves as the Suicide Prevention Outreach Specialist for NAMI, Utah, where she enhances prevention and promotion programs for at-risk and underserved populations statewide, aligned with the state suicide prevention plan. In this role, she leads outreach, resource dissemination, coalition communication, live-on website oversight, and cross-agency collaboration. Brooke also serves as the co-chair of the Means Safety Group for the Utah Suicide Prevention Coalition and Committee, a statewide cross-sector work group advancing means safety solutions in alignment with best practice messaging, research, and Utah community needs. She believes that real impact happens when we design solutions for community, not just for them, and when hope and dignity stay at the center of every prevention effort. Well, thank you again for being here. We met at a town hall that we did a while back, and I was just completely impressed. And I said, well, we have to have her on the podcast.
Wow.
So that was the genesis of this.
Okay. Well, hey, good.
It's unfortunate that we have to have statewide suicide prevention initiatives that our society has become, but what a wonderful thing to talk about. And there's so much stigma associated with it and so much misconception and misinformation about suicide that I love talking about it on the podcast, just so we can get more information out there, accurate information about how to understand this, how to interact with people who might be having such thoughts, which is more common than we would think.
Extremely. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
A lot more. Yeah.
How did you get involved in this?
Well, I mean, I guess if I go all the way back, a lot of us say our reason why. So our reason why in doing this work that can be very difficult at times is I lost my boyfriend when I was a teenager. He died by suicide while we were together. And at that time, I would give you the year, but I'm not going to. At that time, there just was no help.
Yeah.
And so I remember at that age feeling very alone, very, very isolated because nobody knew what to say. Nobody knew how to handle me. And so, unfortunately, I did have a bumpy road as a teenager because of a lot of that, just because I didn't understand even what I was going through. And then becoming an adult, I actually came across Taryn Hyatt, who was American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, our Utah chapter. She was the executive director, and her and I just hit it off, and that was it. So that was where where I really started to understand there are people out there to help.
Yeah.
There is education. There is a lot out there. And that's all the stuff that I needed. And so it kind of, flipped for me to the point of I want to come in and I want to help people now and do the things that I needed, right?
Right, that you could have benefited from
yeah.
at that time.
Yep.
Do you think, and there are many, many available options out there now, and there have been for a while, they're getting more prevalent,
Yeah.
but do you think, but I still don't think people are accessing them as much as they could.
No.
And I wonder, I'm just thinking out loud, is it because it's the type of thing that people just think, well, if I don't talk about this, then it doesn't affect me? I don't know. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that. That's the truth. There are not a lot of people that do talk about it. The stigma is still very real.
Yeah.
There are, multiple things that I have come across in my profession as far as reasons why. And to be completely honest, even I have my moments where it's scary. that is a scary, scary thing to talk about, because it's kind of, Pandora's box,
Yeah.
if you will. When you start talking about it, it's real. And then especially if you are concerned about someone and you care about that person, sitting across from them and hearing what they're struggling with, or the fact that they may be thinking that they just don't want to be here anymore. And what am I going to do with that? How do I help that person? And honestly, even as long as I've done this, every single time I still go, oh my gosh, am I going to have the right answer? Am I going to know what to do?
Yeah.
Because it's scary. And then, we do have the element of religion. We still have individuals that believe that it is a sin,
Right.
which unfortunately, it exists. I get it. I understand it.
That complicates a person's ability to talk about it at times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We look at religion and culture and
Yeah.
the family dynamic, and there are so many things that can influence what that looks like that it's kind of hard to pinpoint it, but it does make sense. Getting out there and trying to get the education and
Yeah.
how to do it.
One of the more common misconceptions, I think, is that if you ask someone if they're feeling suicidal, they say, don't do that because that'll put the thought in their head. But
Mhm.
I understand that's incorrect, right? I mean,
Yeah.
people are, if they're having that thought already, you don't give people that thought.
No, not at all. And I
Yes.
think with social media and everything now, I know a lot of parents are concerned about their kids and wanting to make sure that they don't talk about something and put it in their head. And
Right.
I'm a parent. I get that. I totally understand that. Again, it is scary, but our kids know about it.
Right.
They already know about it.
Yes.
They're already talking about it. Adults, we all already know about it. It's not this mysterious thing that floats around that, not everybody gets touched with. And when I go and teach my classes, I've taught for 6 years now. And I still to this day am waiting for that class to teach where when I ask the question, have you been affected by suicide, that I don't get at least 80% of hands that
Wow.
go up. And that even includes junior high and high schoolers. So it is around.
Yeah.
And, the thing behind that as to why we want to ask is because if you put yourself in the shoes of an individual struggling and they are having thoughts of suicide and they are at that point of just, that crisis point is coming really fast, you're already overwhelmed. And having someone from the outside come in and say, hey, hold on a second. Are you having thoughts of suicide? Can decrease that stress
Right.
by an enormous amount. And so now what we've created is this environment where someone can say yes or nod their head. They don't even have to say anything. Yeah. And that is so much easier for someone to say than actually verbalizing, I'm struggling and
Right.
I'm thinking, I'm having thoughts of suicide. That's a tough thing to come out of your mouth, especially when you're at your crisis point.
Right. I had a friend a while back who she was talking about it in terms of social anxiety, but it applies very well in this circumstance because there were times when she'd want to help with her friends, but she was so nervous about doing it. And she said, when the pain of not helping them finally eclipsed the stress of me doing it is when I started to act. And I think that's part of the problem. Like you said, loved ones who might be suspicious, because you can see signs. You'll see, depression can be very evident in terms of how it manifests. But then a parent or a loved one, it's going to make them uncomfortable to initiate that conversation. But I think we can't make it about ourselves in that moment. It has to be like, I have to do whatever it takes in this moment to be able to have the conversation that the other person needs.
Yeah.
And I think I loved her perspective, but I think that's one of the reasons sometimes we don't get involved is we're still thinking too much of ourselves and our own comfort.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I liken it to one of my favorite movies is Inside Out. I know I know that it's a cartoon and I know that it's for kids, but the end of Inside Out when sadness and joy,
so
they understand,
Yes.
right? Joy really understands the point of sadness and how it all comes together. And that's it. When you let people in, or you talk about it, or you open that door, or you allow it to come in, it can change the dynamic huge.
Yeah. When I think our society has become a place where we don't want to sit with negative emotions. We have so many options to get away from that, more than we've ever had in the history of the world.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to be able to sit with those things. I heard someone say the other day, I don't know that her math is right, but she said that you only have to process an emotion for 90 seconds and then it goes away. I think it's probably a little longer than that. But
I wish that would be nice.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
But her whole point was, instead of just running from that negative emotion, whatever it is, stress, depression, sadness, just being with it and saying, it's okay for me right now to feel sad.
Yeah.
Because of what happened, like in Inside Out, when they lost the championship, right? The hockey championship.
Absolutely.
And that's an okay thing to be sad about. We don't have to immediately be happy after those sorts of things. And I think if we stop kind of pushing so urgently against those negative emotions and allow ourselves to live in them a little bit, we'll find that they don't become all encompassing. I think the more you push against it, the more it pushes back sometimes.
Right. Like having a panic attack, right? The more you push against it and the more okay, just stop. It's like, okay, it's getting bigger.
Exactly.
It's getting bigger, instead of just saying, okay, I'm having a panic attack.
Exactly.
And right now I just need to sit down and do my coping skills and breathe
and it's
through
going to
it.
be over in 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm not going to die, and it's going to be okay, right?
Absolutely.
But it's okay for me to have this experience. So much of the stigma around anything related to mental health is just this idea that it's bad, that it's wrong. We assign a lot of moral value to it, and that we shouldn't be feeling this way, as opposed to, this is just part of life experience.
Yeah.
You mentioned how your husband had COVID, right? But like, it's not like he shouldn't have COVID, right? There's no moral thing associated with that.
Right.
It's just the pits. He caught the bug, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
But he doesn't feel like guilty for having it. Or at least he probably didn't. We don't feel guilty when we get the flu.
Right.
But we feel guilty when we get sad.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I've done a lot of research in religion kind of over my life. And since I've been doing this job, the Buddhist beliefs, and I know it's not a religion, but the belief system really speaks to me, because it's exactly that. It's exactly, life isn't great. It's not wonderful all the time. And we have to accept that and be okay with that and let it move through us instead of, push back on it.
Right.
Because it's part of life. It's what we do day to day.
And whether we push back or not, it's still going to happen.
Still there.
It will still happen. I mean, the course of our lives is it's going to be a roller coaster of experiences, amazing times and desperate times.
Yep.
And we just get so worried about the next desperate time, instead of just saying, I know this is going to happen someday. And I don't think that's a pessimistic outlook. I think it's a realistic outlook. It's just saying, I may not be as happy tomorrow as I am today, and that'll be okay.
Yep.
Because Thursday I might be even happier than I am today.
Absolutely.
And just learning to embrace that, I think that it demystifies some of it, and when we set the expectation, I think it just makes it easier to deal with when it comes. For sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
One of the things that I've studied in terms of suicide prevention, one of the most protective factors is connection. Which is one of the reasons I love doing this podcast in person.
Yeah.
Just because it's, I've done them on Zoom before, and that's great. It's convenient, but it's so nice just to sit with someone, look them in the eye and talk. What do you know about that? Just in terms of how connection helps with just mental health in general, or managing suicidal ideations?
I think connection right now is something that looks a lot different nowadays.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's lacking. I would say it's different. That's kind of how I look at it. And because of the fact that it is different, I think our old-fashioned way of connecting is a lot easier, because we aren't used to it, which is a really weird thing to say. But the fact is that, maybe 20, 30 years ago, sitting down with someone just like this and looking someone in the eye and talking to them and listening, actually like being engaging, was pretty normal.
Right.
right? And now it's not. So just even having just that brief moment with someone, I think we're all craving it so much that it is so much easier now for people to feel connected when you're actually in person. So, which is a catch-22, right? But I think there's a lot to be said with sitting in someone in the same space. I think that there's, an exchange of energy. Absolutely. When you walk into a room, I think right away, like, okay, this is inviting, this is not inviting, right. I'm uncomfortable, or, oh, this is a great space. And then body language is huge. If I'm sitting and I'm talking like this, clearly it's not engaging, right? I can be sitting with you in the same room, but my body language will tell you a lot.
Right.
And
which you can't tell from a text conversation. Yeah.
No. So I think just as human beings, we draw a lot from just being in person.
Mm-hmm.
And so connection is huge, because connection is, in my opinion, the number one prevention. The number one suicide prevention piece is, hey, I'm concerned about you. Yeah. I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to put my phone down and I'm going to put it completely away. I'm going to sit here with you. We're going to sit across from each other. I'm looking at you in your eyes and I'm saying, hey, seriously, like, how are you doing? I want to know how you're doing. Is there anything that I can do to help? And that's a pretty powerful feeling. Pretty neat once you're able to sit and do that. And when you do that with someone who's struggling and you feel that connection, it's almost an immediate, oh, okay, now I get it. This is it. This is why. And sadly, we don't get it a lot.
No, we don't. I think we've become afraid of it. I think you've got a group of people who are afraid to connect that way. Mm-hmm. And then the others that are just as more convenient. And because I'm totally that way. I will text 100 times to one over make a phone call, and
I'm an introvert. I get that.
And it really has, but at the same time, I'm perfectly willing to sit here and stare you in the eye and have a conversation. Right. So a lot of it for me is convenience sake. It's just easier to do that way. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. I don't know that it's necessarily a good or a bad thing. Mm-hmm. I think we just need to recognize what are the times when that true connection is necessary. Yeah. Sometimes it isn't necessary and you can accomplish it through an email or a text or something like that. But other times it is very important. And I think when we start to be chronically disconnected from people, mm-hmm. that's when we start to struggle more with our mental health.
Yeah.
It's strange that we just lift each other, right? Yeah. When we're together.
It is. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's a very powerful thing. And I didn't understand, I guess, the magnitude of it until I started doing this, because clearly the conversations I have with people are, they can be very difficult. They can be very heartbreaking. And, I hear stories of what people have gone through and they've shared things with me. And I've had people say, I've never told anybody this before. Yeah. To recognize that and go, holy cow, like, this is a beautiful moment that I'm having with another person, and I'm honoring that. And like, I truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for giving me that. Like, you just gave me a piece of you, and I'm going to honor that. And it's beautiful. It really is. We're beautiful. We're beautiful beings.
Yes. Designed for connection.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yep.
And like you said before, and I think you're totally right, we yearn for that connection. Mm-hmm. There's stuff that gets in the way of doing that for whatever reason, but I think there is just kind of almost a biological imperative that we do want to be around one another. Social media has been an interesting thing, because while it has increased our ability to connect, it has also impacted our ability to connect in a negative way. And so in some ways, to me, it feels like a surrogate, like a less effective surrogate, mm-hmm. where we kind of feel like we've been fed, but we really haven't.
Yeah.
It's like when I ate a handful of wheat thins yesterday,
and cardboard crackers.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt like I had been fed until about 90 minutes later, when I realized there was nothing nutritious in that at all.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it satisfied a craving, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder, I think the evolution of social media is going to be fascinating over the next 10 to 15 years. Like my children, who are I have 6 grandchildren right now that are young, and my children are already right now talking about they're not going to have social media. Like we're not going to have them on it until a certain time, which was rare for my generation. When I got in, or even my children's generation, when I remember our son came home and he said, "I'm literally the only person in my class that doesn't have a telephone."
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was a sophomore at that time. He was our oldest. We hadn't really thought about it. But they got phones younger and younger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was Dr. Haidt, who wrote The Anxious Generation. Someone asked him a question. They said, "When should we give our children a cell phone?" And he says, "When you want their childhood to end." And I thought, oh, that's such a great answer. Terrifying as well, but it's true. It changes things.
Yeah.
It changes things once you become connected in that different way,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to 5-year-olds just hanging out at the park, and playing.
Yep. Yeah. They now have access to the world right in their hand. And I think a lot with that is, yes, as parents, we can say in our home and financially, I'm not going to support a phone. But also as parents, we have to understand and know that when our kids go to their friend's house, when our kids go to school, no matter where our kids are at, they are going to be exposed to social media, a phone. Sadly, probably some material that maybe they shouldn't be exposed to. So even though, yes, you don't want to allow a phone in your home, having the conversation, just like as if you have a phone in your home, should still happen. So don't think that, well, my kids don't have a phone, so they're safe.
So therefore, they're uninfected by anything that I'm trying to prevent them or prevent them from being exposed to.
Yep.
That's so true. I love that concept, because you're right. We're in this kind of universal society where people are going to be exposed to things.
Yeah.
And having those conversations is so important. Like we talked about earlier, just even having the conversation with someone who might be feeling suicidal. Creating a space where you can kind of be their voice almost, right? Asking questions that they can just nod or shake their head to if they're in a space that's where they can't really talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what do we do then to encourage these open conversations? What's the hang up? What can we do? What's been your experience?
I think, what we're trying to do is educate. I understand and I know attending a suicide prevention class is probably not the thing you want to do on a Friday night as a date night. I get that. I wouldn't want to either. But the truth is that if you have that piece of education behind you, hopefully you'll never need it.
Yeah.
Right. But if you do need it, you'll have it and you'll know, hey, it's okay. I can talk about suicide. And we can talk about these things. And this is how I'm going to talk about it safely so that I don't put anybody else in danger. Because there is specific ways that we do want to talk about suicide. There's specific ways that we don't want to talk about suicide. And so knowing what that is and isn't is extremely important. And then also the biggest thing that, I try and teach when I go and do my classes is if we really look at individuals that, may struggle with their mental health. What are we looking at, right? We're looking at an individual who maybe genetically is predisposed.
Yeah.
Or we're looking at an individual that, maybe just chemically, they're just not producing the right amount of serotonin, right? And so it's affecting their body. And how their brain functions. So what's the difference between that and say someone who is diabetic? We're still looking at a person that their body is just not producing the correct amount of chemicals that they need, and they just need a little bit of help. So making sure and trying to change that thought process of thoughts of suicide and an individual struggling with suicide, we know there is a big mental health factor. We know that is not the only thing by a far stretch. But we do know that is a pretty common thing when we're looking. So we should be looking at both of these, mental health and an individual that's struggling with suicide, as it is a health concern, no different than an individual with diabetes or someone who's been diagnosed with cancer. And if we think about it, how do we approach an individual who has been diagnosed with cancer, right? We run over. Is everything okay?
Right.
How are you doing?
Exactly.
Can I bring you food? Can I do this? Can I do that? But then we hear, oh, our neighbor just attempted and now they're home.
Right.
What do I do?
Crickets,
and everyone's
right? Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh my gosh, no, I'm not going over there.
Right.
But it should be exactly the same.
I agree. So if people want to learn more, you said you manage the Live On website. Do you help with that? Is that right? Is that a good place to go?
Yes. Okay. Live On. We have the Live On website. On there is the playbook that will be a self-paced. You can go on there. It'll take about a half hour. You can go in. It's a very, very basic suicide prevention course. You can get a certification when you're done. But there's also a link in there to our Utah Suicide Prevention Coalition and Committee. And in that website, we have all of our trainings in there that you can sign up for. So that would be QPR, question, persuade, refer. We also have vital cognition. We also have mental health first aid. So in that website, it will give you just options of a whole bunch of different types. We have some great education pieces.
That's liveon.org.
Liveon.org. Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Brooke, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today about this seriously important thing and connecting as well. I appreciated that opportunity to talk with you that way. And thanks everyone for listening today. Remember that change starts with you, and together we can increase our mental health momentum.